Welcome back to Prime News on HLN. Literally any minute now, we may find out if David Goldman will be finally reunited with his son. We've kept you updated on this story. Nasty fight, 5-year international tug of war, all over 9-year-old Sean Goldman. His American dad up against the mother's family in Brazil. Again, it started when David Goldman's wife fled with her son to her native Brazil. But she died there last year, and Sean's been living with his stepdad and her family ever since. Well, we're told that today, Brazil's Supreme Court Chief Justice will make a decision. Will Sean's dad be able to take his son back to the U.S. in time for Christmas? Joining me to talk about this, we welcome back Vikki Ziegler, family law attorney, very well-versed on this case. Also with us, Mark DeAngelis, a friend of David Goldman. Mark, you and I were just talking, and I had asked you, any word? You're getting word now. What is it?
We're still here, and there may be something later tonight. It's nothing confirmed, as we've seen over the last couple of days. The courts do not announce a specific time and date where they're actually going to come out with an announcement. So everything is kind of going on behind the scenes, and one word, somebody says something to somebody else. But we're still hearing it's a possibility that it's going to happen tonight. Okay. So as we said, any minute now. Have you talked to David? How's he holding up as he waits here? Yeah, I talked to him last night. I talked to him again this morning, just for a couple minutes. He was running out the door, but he sounded good. He sounded to be in good spirits. He sounded a little bit tired and actually more like exhausted, but hopeful. He seemed very hopeful, more hopeful than I think I've noticed in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
So there seemed to be something brewing that we're hoping will end in a good result.
He knows the term guarded optimism. I'm sure better than any of us. He's lived it. Vikki, do you have a read on this? Which way the Supreme Court of Brazil is going to go?
We
know which way they should go, right?
Yeah, we do. Hoping and praying that finally somebody on the Supreme Court will enforce the lower court's decision to send Sean home. I mean, Brazil should have never become a signatory to the Hague Convention if they would not enforce abduction cases. So we're hopeful. I think everybody that's been watching and following this case around the world is hopeful that Sean will come home, come back to the U.S. where he rightfully should be with his father, and we're praying. And everyone needs a good friend like Mark DeAngelis, for sure.
Exactly. And let's hit on that real quick, though. You mentioned, I mean, if the Brazilian Supreme Court doesn't go the way that we believe that they should and side with David Goldman here, how are they going to get the same kind of treatment when they have a case like this in years to come? Don't you think that's involved in the process here, the thinking?
Oh, absolutely. I think relations with the U.S. and Brazil and probably most countries around the world, there is no reciprocity at the end of the day for Brazil if they're not going to play in terms of the same game. We're all, when you sign on to the Hague Convention, as people may or may not know, you have a duty. Brazil has a duty to send these children home. And apparently there's about 50 children that are in Brazil right now that have been abducted that haven't been sent home. So this is a major problem around the world, and I think Brazil really knows that the spotlight is on them at this point, that they really need to do the right thing, what's fair and just for Sean.
Exactly. Let's go back to Mark DeAngelis, again, a friend of David Goldman's. There's a couple of reports out there, Mark, I want to talk to you about. One, that there could be some kind of deal in the works that little Sean's grandmother on mom's side wants to, if David gets custody, wants to fly back to New Jersey with Sean. Is there any kind of deal, and would David even negotiate at all here?
Well, I guess what I would say to that is there was some sort of a local newspaper that was reporting that. The family's attorney came out later in the day and dismissed that report and said it was that it wasn't true. So, I think I get the sense that these families may be sort of floating some of these ideas out there to kind of see how well they're received or how well they're not received.
Right.
But it doesn't seem, from our perspective, there really isn't anything to negotiate, and we haven't even heard from the court yet. Let's wait and see what the judge says first before we go down this path of discussing, what ifs, what if a flight, what if that. We're not there yet.
Well, how about the other report, and this is regardless of a decision, that David has been invited to spend Christmas with the family, with Sean, so that he can see again firsthand how little Sean lives. Is that one in the works, or is that another one that no real credence to that?
Strikes us more as a ploy than anything else. They announced it at a press conference. David never got a formal invitation. It came from their attorney who told the media at a press conference. I mean, if it was a sincere invitation to David, you would think they would have gotten it to him first, so I don't think that should be taken seriously.
Yeah, and as we talk about this, Mark, we know that David and yourself, as you followed this, do not consider this a custody dispute, but an abduction case. And let me bring Vikki in on that. Vikki, does the Brazilian court recognize that? Have they called it that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think they do recognize it, and that's why they've been working, I think, so diligently, or at least we hope so, to make sure that the right result happens. The problem is it's 5 years, I don't want to say too late, but 5 years have gone by, and as we talked about it, you know, in the past, the Hague Convention says you need to return the child within 6 weeks of an abduction. So at the end of the day, the problem really lies in, yes, it is an abduction case. Does it become a custody dispute? Yes. But the child should have been returned. That's the major problem here. And now, I think what the Supreme Court is probably trying to do is weigh what's happening with all of the eyes on this country versus keeping this child in Brazil until February and perhaps receiving more negative spotlight.
Right, exactly. Okay, Vikki, we always appreciate your expertise on this. Mark, you as well. Mark, keep us posted. We're hoping for the best. We hope to have a good report soon. Yeah, thanks again, guys. Coming up, the headline will start you.